Hello guys, let's discuss request body fast API today. Now we have discussed path parameters in our previous lessons. I'll provide you the link in the comment section. So in the first tutorial, we talked about fast API, how fast API works. In the second one, we talked about FastAPI-MongoDB and we made use of path parameters, which were these. Now today we're going to use a request body. So what is request body? When you need to send data from a client, as let's say a browser, to your API, you send it as a request body. So in path parameters, we send like one or two variables, but in request body, we can have a JSON, and JSON can have multiple fields. Now, this is the code what we discussed in our previous lesson, which is this one. I'll provide you the link over in the comment section. So we're going to make use of the same code, which is this one. We'll tune this code to make use of a Pydantic model, which is used for the request body. Now let's start. Let's comment out the section what we don't need from our last tutorial. We don't need this part. Let's comment it out. If we need it, we'll make use of it later on. So now this is our previous code what we worked on. Let's first of all run this code and see how it is working, if it is working well or giving any problem. So okay, it's okay now. Okay, so it's working. So please check this tutorial, Path a Fast API MongoDB, which will give you a full description about how things works, like how to install MongoDB, how to make an account in MongoDB, how to make the integration. So please follow this one. Now let's move forward and work with our Pydantic model today. Now this is the code which was made for making use of path parameters, authentication name. Let's see if it is working or not. Let's remove this comment section, go, and let's try one of the piece of the code, which is insert record, which is making use of the path parameter, and see if it is working. Let's go to Postman. Now here, non-insert record is Peter. Okay, let's see in our MongoDB if it exists or not. There are no collections at the moment. So database, browse collection. So there is nothing at the moment. Now let's run it. Let's send. It's going to INSREC endpoint, and the value we're sending is Peter. Let's go back over here. Things are looking fine. Let's go back to MongoDB. Let's refresh the collections. Browse collections. Okay, so we have a data entry over here, which is Peter. This is the value what we have sent. Now in place of Peter, if I write Arman and send it, it should make another entry over here, which is Peter and then Arman. So it's working. So here we are sending one value of a variable as a path parameter in our function. But today we're going to work with Pydantic model. We'll be sending one complete JSON, and that JSON will be received over here, and the values will be retrieved from the Pydantic model, and we'll make use of it in our program. So let's go one by one. First of all, we need to define a class which will make use of a base model, which we are going to inherit everything from the base model, and we define what we want in our JSON parameter. Now let's see. Make a class first. Class by the name of author. It will inherit from base model. Let's give three names here, three variable name here. Name is string. Title is also string, and see number of pages and OP as integer. So now what's happening? We created a class over here, author, which is inheriting everything from the base model, And we define three attributes: name, title, and number of pages. Name is string, title is string, and number of pages is an integer. So let's comment out this section for a while. We don't want this section at the moment. Now, it should only give us hello world. If we click on this one, hello world, it's working fine. So the way we brought up the server is perfectly good. Now, to make use of Pydantic model, now why we are using Pydantic? So Pydantic is basically will do all the magic for you. Will relieve you from all the validations of all the fields what you're providing from the request body. Because if you come here, we were providing only one variable name. But now we can provide a list of values over here in a JSON format, and everything will be received in the program here. And this class will do all the validations whether whatever you're providing in the request body is in the correct shape or not. Once it is in the correct shape, then you can make use of all these variables in your endpoint or any other function you want. So let's bring this to the code. And now to use author, okay, let's use of insert record. The insert record, we don't want the path parameter. So remove this one because we're going to send the complete body. This is the complete body. These are the variables. So we're going to extract all these variables over here in our program using the Pydantic model. Now see what's happening. Insert record, we're gonna remove all these things. Remove. Now let's make insert or input data which is of the type. Now we want, without giving here as a string or a list or a value or dictionary, we will give type as this class. So what will happen? This is going to be of a type of author. Author is inheriting everything from base model and is defining everything what we're gonna want the Pydantic model to do the validations before I can use it. So let's comment out this portion for a while. We'll uncomment it and we'll use it later on. But I'll show you how I'm gonna retrieve the values first. So now, see what is happening. What have we done so far? We have defined a class author using the Pydantic model syntax. These are the three things what I'm gonna send from the request body: name, title, and number of pages. Title is there, like right, number of pages. And 200 because this is integer. So we have three things: name, title, number of pages, name, title, number of pages. And then we're going to make use of INS record. And how I'm going to get the values from here. Let's see. Name is equals to input data dot name. See what's happening? Name is equals to input data. Input data is of type author. Author is a class and there is a name defined over there. So I am going to get the value of name from here now. Let's define everything. Now here we have name, we have title, we have NOP, number of pages. So we're going to name the title over here and NOP over here. Now this is the best thing of code editor because it will show you whether those variables what we are defining has ever been used or not. So those are not highlighted, so those are not used. Now if I'm going to use it, it will highlight it. Print the value of name is name. Used it? it has been highlighted, these are not. So if I'm going to use all these values over here, those will be highlighted too. Title is title, NOP is NOP. NOP is NOP. Now, see, those are highlighted now. Now, if I send this data from over here, removing this value, now it is hitting the INS REC. Now, if you click this send button, and let's see what it printed out. It printed out the value of name is Sally, value of title is Learn Pydantic, and value of number of pages is 200. Now see how it is getting the value. We are sending it in a JSON format with a name variable assigned with to Sally. Title has a value Learn Pydantic and number of pages is 200. Coming back to the program. So what we have done, class, define the class author as base model. Remember one more thing, to use the base model, we have to use this as well. From Pydantic, import base model. If you don't use this class, if you don't define it over here, you will not be able to use it. So let's see what we have done so far. We have sent this JSON value, name, title, number of pages. It has received over here in class author base model. It has validated everything before we could use in our endpoint. If something bad has happened over here, it could have failed here and this endpoint will not be executed. So suppose if we remove number of pages from our input request body, what will happen? Now it is not defined as an optional here. If it is not defined as an optional, then we are expecting this value to come. If we are not sending it, it will result in an error. Let's see. Send, and we got the error. NOP, messages field required. So we have to provide here NOP value to make it running. It is running now. It is printing again. Now, let's define other classes also with some extra parameters as optional and some parameters as defined as a list. Now let's name it as author_1 and it will be using the base model. This time let's remove this string portion and assign him a default value of Annie. Now we made another class which is making use of base model, but here we were making use of author. Input data was assigned as author. Now if this data type is changed from author to author1, so in that scenario name will be default as Annie and it is not expecting us to send it from the JSON. So if we go to our request body and remove name from there, and let's see what happens then. Send, it is saying field required. Why it is saying, let's see. It is making use of, okay, we have not saved the file. We saved the file, send it, it is okay now. Now what happened? The value of name is Annie now because we make use of this class where the default is Annie. So if we not provide any value, then it will be there. The default will be Annie. But what will happen if we assign the value? Let's see, the name is Sally and we're gonna set it again. So it has provided the name of Sally. So basically what is happening, if you provide the value from the request body, which is this one, then this value will be considered. If you don't provide this value, then the default will be considered, which is Annie. Okay, let's do something else now. Let's make something optional and see how it works. Okay, let's make another class. Now we're gonna make let's make another variable over here, which is index, or maybe number of pages we have already made, or maybe chapters, I would say. let's see chapters. Now here, let's define it as a list, and let's see how, if it works or not. List and list of type integer. Now here it is list, why it is showing, because it may not be defined. Okay, so we have to define list over here now, which is okay. Let's go further from typing, import optional, and let's make use of list here also. List. Let's come down. It's not showing any warning now. So now chapters is defined as list. Now let's go to our request body. Now this time let's define chapters should be in double quotes, and let's define the list as list defined in Python, which is 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 chapters in this book. Now let's see what it gives us. If I do send, it gives me error. Why? Because we are still making use of author1 class, but author1 we should have renamed this as author2. So author2 is making use of chapters, which is making use of list. Now let's change it over here also, author2. Now in this scenario, it should give me the chapters also. So chapters, input data is chapters, and let's print it out here. Is chapters is chapters. Save the file. Over here, C is capital over here, which is wrong. Should match everything in defining the program. Send null. Now let's see what it finds. Okay, value name is Sally. Value of title is Learn Pydantic. Number of pages is 200. And number of chapters is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 chapters in it. So we make use of different classes here. We make classes author, which was straight away name, title, and number of pages per integer, and name and title per strings. Author1, we made a default value. If nothing is provided, then any is the value which will be considered. In author2 class, we introduce one more chapters, which is of a type list integers. And suppose if we send some value as a string in the integer, what will happen? It should fail. Let's see, it failed. So basically, if we have defined the list of integers over here, the value should match. Now what is happening? See, this particular scenario, this class is doing all the validations for you. You're sending a request body, it is coming over here. Once it does all the validations, then we make use of this data type, and then we use those values in our endpoint. So this Pydantic model is a very good thing, which does all the validations for you. So you don't have to write all these validations by your own logic or by yourself. So just use this one, it is perfectly good. Now we were thinking to make use of optional also. Let's try one more class. This is the last thing we are going to use, and then we will insert data into Mongo. Now here, decision of printing, or sorry, date of printing. Now in this case, we're going to define as optional. Optional should be of type date time. And as it is optional, let's define as none. So if it is not provided, it's fine. If it is provided, then we're going to use it. So author3. Now let's change our endpoint to make use of author3. So this is the endpoint. The request will be coming as a JSON. We are making use of all the values given in our JSON. Over here, what we're going to define is DOP is input data DOP. Now let's print it out also. Let's print it out. DOP is equals to DOP. Okay. Now go to request body, comma, DOP. Now here the date is defined as 2021-07 and 26 July, and time is 12:10. Let's see what happens. Send, null. Did we print it out? DOP is DOP. It has not come here. Why so? DOP is input data.dop. Value of DOP is DOP. Oh, we did not save it, sorry. Send it again. So now everything has been printed out. Value of name is Sally, learn Pydantic, NOP is 200, chapters are these ones, and the date of publishing is this one. So now just see how easy it is to send everything in one JSON and then use the Pydantic model in our Python program, which will make use of this data. What we are sending is as a request body. We'll do all the validations for you. You make here one input data which is of type of this class, and then you're going to play with those variables. See, if one more endpoint is going to use the similar data, it will again make use of author3 like what we have used, and then you can print it out. You can insert into Mongo. Let's try to insert into Mongo as well. So now we are making use of this one. We got author, no, we have name, I believe. We have name as name, and we got title as title, and we got number of pages is equals to number of pages, date of published is equals to date of published. Okay, it should insert the data into database. Let's go to our database and see whether already we have anything over there. There's nothing. There's 2 records only. So if we submit this one, a 3rd record should make over here. If we refresh it, it's loading documents. It is 3. See, now it has make entry as name Sally, title, a number of pages, and date of publishing. So straight away it is coming from this request body, which we are using Postman to submit this data, which is going through this Python program, and then it is hitting a MongoDB, which is over here. So if I change the parameter to Steli to Stefan and number of pages to 400, and if I this one refresh, it should make a 4th entry over here, which will be 4th entry, which is of Stefan, number of pages of 4, and date of publishing is there. Let me give you a quick summary of what we have learned. So we have defined a class here, which is making use of Pydantic model, base model. This is inheriting everything from base model class. We're defining the variables, what we expect in the request body. So this will do the validation. So name should be a string, title should be a string, and number of pages should be integer. Once the validation is done, then we make use of this class in our endpoint, and then we can make use of those values coming in the request body. So let's see the last class what we made. The class author3 was made using base model. The name was default, title string, number of pages string, chapter should be a list, and date of publish should be optional. Now we are making use over here. Input data is defined as type author3, then input data dot the name which is in the request body will fetch out all the values and will assign those values over here. Then you can either print those values or you can make entry in the Mongo database. So this is the whole integration of using Pydantic Model, MongoDB, and FastAPI. So I think, guys, you have learned something today. Just write down in the comment section if you want me to make a video on another topic of your choice. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next tutorial. Thank you.